Warning, slight gore. A golden bird. No matter what of size or where it came from, they are a show of power, wealth, and rebirth. No one would dare to murder one, for it meant they would soon be doomed with unforgivable fate. But even with holding my baby, something wanted me to go, run to the source of where this magical bird had come from. It's time, I spoke, the knight bowing just behind me. I'll make sure she's alive. He nodded. I knew I wouldn't be able to leave this building. I was a woman in a man's hunt. But that didn't mean I could not send someone into the hunt. Oh, my baby. I spoke as Kosei started to move against my chest, rocking him to where his moves had calmed down. I smiled, still hoping that Yen would be okay. I opened my eyes, feeling the pain shoot through every bit of my body. I looked around. My room. Did I die? Why was I back in the human world? My mind was fuzzy as I sat up from my bed. How did I get here? I felt my head. No wounds, no bumps, not even scratches. It was as if nothing happened at all. Dear, come on. You will be late. The sound of my mother's voice rang through the other side of the door. I bolted from my bed as I ran over towards the door, throwing it open. I gasped, seeing her brow raised as she looked at me with a basket of clothes in her hand. Mom, your burn marks, I whispered. Oh, this? She asked with her hand. Just burnt it while making me something to eat. Grease flew at me. She walked past me and into my room, placing the basket on my bed. But that wasn't what I was talking about. The burn marks that were supposed to be everywhere were now gone. Now hurry up or you're going to be late for school. She walked over and held my shoulders. Yes, Mom. I nodded, and she smiled, watching me for a bit before leaving the room. Then I rolled my eyes, but I paused. Wait. I looked at myself in the mirror, noting I was smaller. I looked different, to say the least. Not in the sense of height, but weight. I cringed. God, Ryu and the other one really put a number on me. I sighed. But getting back on track, there were more important things than that. My mom didn't have burn marks. I was still in school, and I didn't have any baby weight. I didn't have any scars. My hands and arms were fairly smooth. I froze. Wait. Am I back before I went into the shrine? I looked to the calendar in my room, noting it was way past October. January? I spoke out loud. I looked around my room. It was normal, to say the least. I hadn't been in it for so long that my memories were slightly foggy as to what it really looked like. Yin, come on! I don't hear any movement. I heard my mother's voice echo from downstairs. Shit, I said, my body moving on its own to my closet, picking a brown sweater and some baggy pants, placing my socks on as I ran to the bathroom, brushing my hair as I made my way down to the stairs to see my mom and dad talking. I looked at the two of them. They were both normal, with a happy smile on their face as if nothing had happened. No burn marks, nothing at all. Morning, dear. Is everything all right? My dad asked with a worried smile as he plated me some breakfast. They seemed to have long finished theirs. Yeah, but I think I had the craziest dream. I slightly giggled. sighing as I sat down next to him. My mother only hummed. Must have been since you were been acting dazed. Is something else the matter? She tilted her head. No. I took a bite. It was real. It had to be. I must have died and was sent back to a time where I had never met Kai, Yona, Suzumi, Haru, Lady Lishu, or even my own son, Ryu. I lowered my eyes towards the table. My dad's brows furrowed. Are you sure? Everything is all right, dear? My dad's hand rested on my shoulder with a loving squeeze. I hissed as I looked towards him, a light smile on his face. I looked away. No. I looked back, seeing the saddened faces of both their faces. Do you want to I got you both hurt. My mother's voice hummed. My mother was always stern, but she only let out a sudden sigh. Hun, we love you. We know you wouldn't harm us. Mom placed a hand on mine as Dad slightly chuckled. Well, not that bad. He spoke in a joking way. I knew he was trying to lighten the mood, but it wasn't helping. I stood, my mother's hand leaving mine as I scooted from the table. Well, I better get ready for school. I sighed as I turned away and up the stairs. Finally finishing getting ready, I took my bag and headed for the door, placing my shoes on and yelling, I'm off, love you both, and quickly leaving. It felt weird, to say the least. Why was I doing all this stuff before all of this? It was kind of as if my body was moving on its own to the things I used to do. I didn't know how to put my head around it. I couldn't have been given a second chance. It was off for the time I went there, though, so it has to be something else. Finn! I looked over to see Mikasa waving her hand as Anya and Goro standing beside her near the bus stop. I walked over. They seemed normal. Like they never left me there in the first place. Hey Finn, how was your weekend? Stay up? Goro asked with a chuckle. Yeah, you're usually the first one here. Anya teased with a smile on her face. Sorry, I had a weird dream and I guess it caused me to sleep longer. I silently giggled with a sigh after. Oh, wait, Yin, remember that shrine we went to during October? Anya spoke as the bus stopped in front of us. Paying for my trip, we all sat close to one another. Oh, the one where Finn over here got caught in a hole and started screaming her head off? My cheeks heated up as Mikasa sat next to me, but Anya pulled out her phone. Well, look, it fell down yesterday. She pulled her phone back to her. The outside yard is fine, but the whole building can't be rebuilt unless you make it brand new. What? Finn? Goro asked. That's when I was noticing I was shaking. My hands trembling. My eyes shaking as I tried to focus on things. Wait, did this mean I would never get to see Kai again? I wouldn't be able to hold Ryu in my hands. Never be able to see Yona, Haru, Suzumi, Lishu. Finn, I thought you hated that place. It's not like there's anything in there that we left. Anya whispered. That's not the point, I spat, and the three of them paused, just watching me. It's history, I caught myself. Think about it. We have been trying to keep our culture alive for so long, so why let one of the oldest shrines collapse? I saved myself. The three of them looked to each other. No, she really has got a point. Guru hummed as he brought his hand to his chin. But still, there was mold and other things that working with would cause damage to people's lungs and other systems. I look over to Mikasa. Then why did we go? I raised a brow. She only smiled, shrugging her shoulders. Halloween, wanted to see if it was true that spirits could travel to our land on that day. She lightly giggled, then sticked her tongue out. The three of us sighing heavily. But as school played on and on, my mind raced to everything. Like, How did we get here in the first place? Why was everyone that went with me acting as if nothing happened at all? My parents were fine, and why was I back to my normal self? I have paid most time to teachers, nor my classmates, as I twirled my pencil around my hand, biting my bottom lip as to why I was here, just trying to figure out a reason that this could be happening. It could have been someone's magic that brought me here to save me, but to where nothing of that had happened, I could have died and just everything was erased, or it was just really a dream that took place in one night. But my mind didn't feel like it was. I needed answers. And then a nail tapped on my desk. Looking to see a teacher, her brows furrowed as she watched me. Lynn, could you tell us what you think the answer is? She questioned. I looked to the board. Nothing. What was I in again? Health, right? Science? I thought about it for some time. What were we talking about? I bit my lip again. It had to be bleeding at this point. I swear I could taste it to this point. It's when the body is in a state where the mind thinks it's alive, but the body is slowly dying. We had to be talking about that, right? We were on that last time, if I can remember. No, Yin. She paused, as her eyes narrowed even more. Yin, please, wake up. My eyes shot wide. What? Sorry, but... You can't leave me. The words that left out of her mouth was the same, but it wasn't her voice. It was his. My body began to shake as she only stared. Yin, you must wake up. This time, it matched with her lips, but the voice, it was Kai's. My breath started to halt. I pushed back from my desk, causing the woman to be pushed back as I ran, opening every door in my path as I left. There was one place I needed to be. The echoing voice, the echoing of Ryu's cries that I could faintly hear. I was either going to die or live. Leaving the grounds of the school, I could feel liquid start to spread to where one of my lungs were. Clutching the spot to try and help the pain, my breathing became labored as I ran. I was running to one place I needed to be. The shrine. My eyes teary as my body began to slow down. But I had to push through. Echoes of demands from voices, both male and female. My body pushed and pushed itself as I ran further and further. My body was screaming at me to stop, but to run at the same time, to see my son, my friends, my love. Tears filled my eyes. It was either that or the pain that was coursing through my every vein as my vision began to blur. But I needed to make it there, make it to the shrine, the collapsed building finally coming into my view, the gate slightly opening, pushing past it as I ran, the garden still in disarray like the first time, coming up to the fallen building, until I saw it. The gate. The Torii gate somehow was still intact, just in the same room as it was before. I slowly walked closer to it, my body trembling as I did so. I moved my hand away to reach out for the gate, but I noticed how bloody my hand was. I was shocked, looking down to my side to see a huge gash in the side. I gasped out in horror, looking at my hand and then to the bloody side, my breathing heavier and heavier as I looked between the two. But his voice, it was still ringing in my ear. It had to have been growing louder and louder the closer I got to the gate. I needed to be there, needed to see my son. I didn't care. I wasn't from there, nor the fact I didn't belong there. But my body kept pushing and pushing and pushing. I yelped in pain as I fell, looking to my feet so I could see what I tripped over. The loops of the floorboard. I pushed myself up, but only the agonizing yell came out of me. Was my foot spraying? My eyes began to water and blur. I was going to pass out if I wasn't fast enough. I quickly turned my focus to the gate. I have to wake up to keep fighting. I won't die. This is my will. I pushed my body further and further until my bloodied hand was only a few inches away. No, it had to be only a few atoms. I just needed to be closer. Closer so I could say the words. Travel, I whispered as my bloodied hand grazed the wood, my body finally collapsing into the rubble, tears filling my eyes as I watched the world around me. My world. Not the one I wanted to be in at this moment. Did the god or gods, deities, or whatever they were, told in stories finally come for me? For playing with the mortal and spirit realm? Whatever was up there. If one at all must have hated me. This would be my end? No one for me but only the whispers and shouts of voices that rang throughout my head, ringing from one ear to the other. I want to be with them. I closed my eyes as I felt the tears drop from my cheeks. So, let me see her. My head rung as I heard a male voice. I'm sorry, but the Empress has spoken otherwise. Another shout back. Guy, I spoke, my voice hoarse and dry. My eyes lidded as I looked for where he was. Nothing at all. Only the blurs of colors that weren't greens nor blues or browns. Until I felt a warm hand hold onto mine. I'm here, my love. His tone had changed, sweet and quiet, as if he were to be too loud. Then I would crack and die. He held on to me like I was glass. Where am I? I spoke, trying to look at him, but only to see a blur of colors. My imperial villa. The quiet voice of Lady Lishu spoke. I could tell, but her tone was honey-sweet, as I somewhat saw her walk up to me. What happened? I wanted to sit up, to see more around me, but Kai made sure I stayed laying down, hearing, stay, you'll hurt yourself worse. So I did. I presume you were the one who shot the golden arrow, correct? I nodded. Well, after that, I sent my guard to check it out. Once I have... Well, since one, I have never seen anything like that. Along with the other officials, thinking it was a phoenix, it could be a high prize. That is all I know. Then quiet. Only the sounds of clothes moving. Kai's hand came back to my cheek. I was the first one there. You had been bleeding from a gash in your side. I tried to patch it up as possible. He paused, feeling as his hand slightly shook. Who did this to you? His sweetened voice now filled with hatred, anger that bubbled to surface. I turned my head slowly. As I smiled, came towards my face. I was going to make that bitch pay. The Empress Dowager, I rasped out. Small gasps could ring throughout the small space. I could feel his hands tightened. Of course, I heard Lishu. Once again, quiet. Only the movement of clothes. And what does that mean? Kai spat. How dare... A girl's voice spoke up, but was quickly quieted down. She has done this to me before. The movement of a chair and cloth. I don't know why she seems to do this. Another pause. But Yin didn't arrive in the palace, Li Shu whispered. What was that? Kai asked. The only way the Dowager would feel threatened is by a mere human. I wish I could see what she was doing. Only the movement of her walking. If you only saw her on the sword when you got there, then only proof we have is a sword. There are many spares in the guards. It would take a time until we found the one who have done it. But it wouldn't give us enough proof to take it on to the Dowager since she has the highest power. Li Shu began to ramble on and on as I heard her walk about. You have a weird friend, Kai whispered into my ear, slightly spooking me since I didn't hear him move closer. Lady, I spoke, almost in a shout thanks to Kai, but she hummed, hopefully turning to look at me. I'm sorry to ask, but what time period did you come from? Silence. I am from the early Edo period of Japan. She sighed. Does the sword with white powder? Of course she wouldn't know about this move. Only hearing a hum come from her. Every being has a different fingerprint. All different in its own way. If we were to round up the Dowager's guards, then we could possibly, we'll be able to frame her. Kai then tapped my hand. But wouldn't she accuse the guard since it isn't her fingerprint? Kai spoke with a hum. I silently turned. We'll make her. I rasped, then violently started to sit up as I coughed more and more. Someone bring me some water, Li Shu ordered as my coughs rang throughout my own head. I sighed, turning into more pain shooting throughout my body. Kai holding onto my lower back and shoulder. The pain was starting to die down, but it still panged at every muscle, every fiber, every bone of my being, as I felt one of Kai's hand move and away, taking my hand to hold a small cup, helping me bring it to my lips as I slowly drank it. I'll be honest, my throat did feel much better. Well, now we have to bandage you up again. Kai's words spoke and rang through my head, with a quick nod of Li Shu. The two ladies behind her nodded and left, but Kai's hand slid down to my lower back, helping me sit up. The two coming back with another. My lady, they're starting with the investigation. She spoke to Li Shu. I will make sure you have your time to rest until you are ready. Li Shu spoke as she followed after the lady. Wait! Can I at least have my son? I spoke with a hiss as one of the ladies undid my bandages. She stayed there for a moment. Her back was turned so I couldn't see her face, but the silence being louder than I wanted it to be. Where's my son? Don't tell me she got to him! I cried, but Li Shu only turned. I do not know where Haru, nor your son Ru is. She sighed before leaving the tent. My body ran and ran, with the crying infant in my hands, his tiny cries, just leading them towards me. My body may be torn and bleeding, but I made a promise. One to never let anyone harm him. I failed once with her, so I will make this all right.